welcome back to another episode of Beer, Bacon, and Bros. Tonight we got Alex, we got Chris, we got Keith. We're going to break down some of these rumors about the NBA and NHL drafts being rigged because the conveniency of the teams that ended up with the first overall pick while not having the best odds to win their draft lotteries because of the market size, the athletes that are coming through, the generational talents that we're all talking about with these number one picks. So obviously, Alex follows the NHL a little bit more than we do. I was looking through some of these. Looks like Anaheim obviously had 18.5% on their odds. Columbus Blue Jackets had 13.5%, and then you look down at Chicago with 11.5%. Conveniently, yet again, I think we say the biggest market between those teams and programs, getting a generational talent in Connor Bedard,
because they're saying Connor Bedard is this generation's
Sidney Crosby.
No,
Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid drew a blank, and then Connor McDavid, was that generation, Sidney Crosby. So they're comparing him to those two guys.
Basically, every 5 years now, we've had a generational talent that comes out as a scorer.
Unfortunately, Crosby's older than I want to admit, but
he's 33, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there were 7 years between him and Connor McDavid. Sorry, but. And
so
then
you got Chicago. If people don't know, Chicago ended up winning their lottery, and they had the technically third worst odds to win the lottery. So somehow they skipped 2 teams. But sorry, you can go into the NBA.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say on the NBA side, Detroit 17-65, and then Houston and San Antonio being second and third worst as far as the records go. Conveniently.
So in both leagues, the third worst team has now won the lottery to get the first pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, I mean, listen, in the NBA, there's really not like super small markets. Obviously, Charlotte doesn't carry that big a market, Portland, and so on. But
Detroit and Houston are some pretty big markets for basketball.
Yeah, I think, but all 3 of these teams that we're talking about have a history behind them.
Yeah.
It is interesting that Pop, who is regarded as one of the best coaches, the Spurs were a absolutely dominant team between 2000 and 2011 is what I'll say, 2013 when they won the last championship. So they won like 6 championships between 2000 and 2013. So it's a little bit of a dominance to try and get the Spurs back to being better again. So
kind of like how Chicago there for a while in the early 2000s.
The Blackhawks
the teams
were
really good NHL teams.
Yeah.
The more it's starting to line up, you can see the similarities between the leagues crossing over.
Well, Detroit also had the first pick last year, and they got Cunningham from Oklahoma State. So I mean, it's like Detroit just had their chance to go get a generational talent, and they didn't really do anything.
Did Cunningham not live up to expectations?
I mean, he was hurt a lot this year.
Okay.
So.
It seems to be the running. It seems what happens to every first round pick.
Yeah, I mean, Greg Odom.
Well, you are throwing 18 and 19-year-old kids into a professional sports league, and they're going to get hurt. But anyways,
but I mean, when you're looking at it, it's very interesting because Victor, I have no idea how to say his last name.
We've been on Yama.
Yeah, we'll call him the Frenchman.
Yeah,
and nobody knows how big this guy is. Some say he's 7'5", 240. NBC Sports says him at 7'2", 230, but either way, this guy is an elite player. Better you put some weight on, but I mean, the guy is going to step into the league and be almost just like Giannis. I mean, he's going to be basically another Giannis Greek Freak style player. So, but Brandon Miller also going to the Charlotte Hornets, likely number 2, will be another generational player. A lot of people comparing him to Kevin Durant, but
concealed carry friendly state. That's a joke for Brandon Miller.
For those that know. So, but unfortunately for Detroit, they went from having the best odds to being the 5th chance, or being the 5th. So,
how does that happen? Because from my understanding with the NHL, they draw two sequences of numbers of 4 numbers of 4 balls technically. They got 2 individual sequences to pick the number 1 and the number 2 pick. So whoever has the worst odds, if not picked, just automatically slots into 3rd. So how did the NBA end up putting the worst team at 5th?
That's just
did they draw 4?
It's just how they draw.
So they continuously draw.
Oh yeah.
I think the NHL only just does the 2 drawings, just to get the number 1 and number 2.
You draw from the bottom.
And then the max you can move up. So like the 1 through 14, 16 teams. I think it was 16 for the NHL this year. So I think, let's say Pittsburgh was at the 16, right? Mm-hmm. The max Pittsburgh could jump up if they won on the first drawing of the lottery would be up to 6th. And then automatically the worst odds team would just slot into 1st. And then they would draw for the second time. Let's say the team that was 15th won the second. The furthest they can move up is to 5. and then the team with the second worst odds or who had the second worst record would automatically slot into second place, and then just boom, 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 automatically fill out.
Yeah, no, see with the NBA, they draw from the bottom up, so they'll put in.
So they draw out the whole 13
Yeah.
teams.
Like the Magic is down here. They had the 6th best odds, but they ended up with the 11th. Yeah, the 11th pick.
Yeah, so like what the blunder of the NHL that sparked the whole rig thing was there was the ESPN coverage of the draft, and it's the same way as the NHL and the NBA, where it takes place in a magical room we actually don't get to see live and all that nonsense. You know, the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain thing. At least the NBA actually ends up showing you the balls being plucked. I don't think the NHL ever does that. But what happened was the ESPN was about to go to commercial, and somebody on the team announced Columbus has the 3rd pick, which Columbus has the worst record. So immediately everyone knew someone else had won picks 1 and 2 besides Columbus. Then they went to commercial, came back, and all of a sudden Chicago's at 1st, Columbus is at 3rd, and Anaheim's at 2nd. Or it was some weird way where they went to commercial and they had already announced like 3rd place. Like it's very weird how ESPN announced it before the league even had put that information out there.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, that granted could just be, you know, those sportscasters do get a heads up, and the guy spoke out of turn or whatnot.
Don't say this until the next 10 minutes is up.
Yeah, and of course, both leagues, they say that there's a team representative for each team that's in the lottery drawing, is in the room, but it still doesn't mean like
they're not tweeting something.
Yeah, so like with the NBA or
texting somebody,
you know, the NBA or the NHL, when they're plucking these 4 balls to create this unique sequence of numbers that you then look at your spreadsheet like, oh, my team has that sequence. That's not stopping them from like, if we really want to get tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, that they're not weighting those 4 balls differently to make sure the Spurs, like the league knows what Spurs combinations are. Like, all right, let's get these balls. We're going to weight them differently so the machine plucks them first thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we really want to dive deep, that is a possibility there. But I do think what would help is if the leagues didn't make it such a secret. Like, I don't understand the concept.
Or just do what all the other sports teams do and do worst gets the best pick.
Yeah, why do the lottery?
Get worst gets the best pick, and then you just go in reverse order. I mean, just what baseball does and football does. I mean, yeah, I understand, because I know you made this point off camera.
Yeah,
was you get the tanking, which even if you're found guilty of tanking, then just take the pick away.
Or do it like what the NFL did, where they eventually found out Miami tanked for Tua, so they stripped them of picks.
Yeah.
Where it's one of those things where like,
that's what I'm saying.
You get caught
take away.
tanking, yeah, you're risking losing picks in the future.
Do you believe in this moment that these drafts were rigged?
I don't think the NBA one. I wouldn't be surprised. I just feel like there's a lot more.
It's been rigged
headquarters meddling in the NBA.
Yeah.
I feel like the NHL, there's really not that much of it that going on. It wouldn't just be shocked at all if the NBA was like you said, you know, you've got Pop, you've got the Spurs, you've got this record, you've got so much history behind this team, and the pedigree.
Yeah.
The NHL one's a little off. I just think the only evidence people have about this is Chicago's a larger market, which, I mean, you can't shoot them for having more, you know, for having a bigger market. And the fact that the ESPN broadcaster said something, but he most likely just found out and just thought it was his turn to announce it, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not like it was on a script that was given to him that morning.
Right,
you know?
right.
I don't think the NHL one was. The NBA one, I would ask for reform on the process. Be like, let's show it live. Let's have more people in the room. Let's do like how the Powerball does. We have the balls go through security checks. They all get weighed before. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I fully think it was rigged.
It's always rigged.
It's really hard. Like, it's a little bit of the business aspect.
It's gotten
if
worse.
you're the NHL and you want to become a bigger market, you need to have stars, and you need to have stars in markets where it makes a difference. And
Chicago is one of them.
And I'm sorry, but if you're going to put, like, I don't get to watch a whole lot of Edmonton games because they don't come on till 10:30 my time over here, right?
Yeah.
And I don't love them enough to be like Hawaii football where I'll stay up till midnight and watch them. Same thing with putting him in Anaheim. If you put Connor Bedard in Anaheim, you're going to have, again, a guy that's going to be basically a West Coast market. Now, you put him in Chicago, all of a sudden he's playing at 8 o'clock, the whole country gets to see him. You know, and it's a team that's going to make more big time TV spots.
It's a team that has that pedigree.
Yeah.
Anaheim's got a little bit of pedigree, nothing compared to Chicago.
Yeah.
Columbus can't really be in that conversation either. So, I mean, I can see it. I'm not going to be one of those people to honestly just say it's not possible. I just don't. Of the two, I would say the NBA be the most likely that there's definitely tampering.
It's gotten worse since LeBron came into the league because you can't tell me that they didn't rig that for Cleveland to get the #1 pick when he came out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the kid that grew up in Cleveland said he wanted to go to Cleveland and all that stuff. Apparently, there's reports that the Frenchman said he wanted to go to the Spurs. That like this was his dream team to get drafted by.
Oh boy.
So Charlotte, so that's why he went there because Charlotte was poised to get the.
But it's also one of those weird things
because that was also going to be part of the rigging was they were going to give Charlotte the #1 overall pick because they wanted Michael to do something right before he sold the team.
That's my point here is if there was any sign of tampering, and I feel like Michael Jordan would be the first one to blow the whistle.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, I don't know what he's like on the inside of the league.
Or if he was
league offices.
he might have been the first one to be tampered. Who knows?
Yeah, sure. You never know.
Yeah, I got screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about the NHL to be able to make an argument like Alex does. So I mean, I don't know much about that side of it, but I do think that the NBA rigs a lot of games, a lot of the draft picks. I mean, and like I said, it's gotten worse ever since LeBron came into the league. And a lot of these players, they say who they want to go to, and then they start talking to the pros and like, oh yeah, let's just get to this position so we can get them here, and just So I think the NBA needs to be reformed. And Adam Silver's a douche. He's an idiot. He needs to get out of there.
Yeah, he's not very well liked.
They need to bring back
he's loved by the NBA followers. He's not loved by people that don't watch the NBA. Honestly. Mm-hmm. But he's made some controversial decisions over the last 3 years.
A lot.
Yeah. It gets to the point when it comes to stuff like this and the rumors and all that. There's too many coincidences for them to be coincidences.
Right.
Hit us in the comments. Let us know. Do you think the NHL and NBA drafts were rigged? And as always, we appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe.